Stop scrolling for a moment. Not because I want your attention, but because there's a reason you are hearing this message today. Maybe you were just scrolling. Maybe you were looking for something to watch. Maybe you almost passed this video without stopping, but something made you stay. And I want you to think about this. What if this message is exactly what your heart needed today? Because sometimes God speaks to us in moments when we least expect it. Sometimes He sends a reminder when we feel the most lost. And maybe right now, you have been fighting a battle that nobody knows about. A battle behind your smile. A battle inside your mind. A battle that you have been carrying silently. You tell people you are okay, but deep down, you know you are tired. You know something feels different. You know you have been searching for peace. And maybe you've been asking, God, where are you? Why does everything feel so difficult? Why do I feel so far away from you? Listen carefully. God has not left you. God has not forgotten you. And your story is not over. The enemy wants you to believe that you are too broken, too weak, too far gone. He wants you to look at your mistakes and think they are bigger than God's mercy. But the enemy is a liar. Your past cannot cancel God's purpose. Your failures cannot erase God's plan. And your weakness does not stop God's power. Look at the people God used in the Bible. Moses had doubts. David made mistakes. Peter denied Jesus. Paul had a terrible past. But God still used them. Why? Because God does not search for perfect people. He transforms willing hearts. He takes broken pieces and creates something beautiful. But there is something you need to understand. The enemy does not always attack you with obvious things. Sometimes he attacks slowly, quietly, through small distractions, a little less prayer, a little less time with God, a little more focus on temporary things, a little more acceptance of habits you know are hurting your spirit. And before you realize it, you're still living your life, but you feel far away from the one who gave you life. This is how spiritual battles often begin, not with one huge decision, but with small choices repeated every day. The enemy knows that if he can control your attention, he can influence your direction, because what you feed your mind will eventually shape your heart. If you constantly feed yourself fear, you will start seeing everything through fear. If you constantly feed yourself negativity, you will forget God's promises. If you constantly feed yourself distractions, you will lose connection with God's voice. That is why the Bible says in 1 Peter 5, verse 8, "Be alert and of sober mind. Your enemy, the devil, prowls around like a roaring lion, looking for someone to devour." God is warning you because He loves you, not because He wants to scare you. A loving father warns his children because He wants to protect them. Maybe there is something in your life right now that God has been asking you to release. A habit, a relationship, a mindset, a temptation, something you keep saying, "It's not a big deal." But sometimes the things we call small are the very things keeping us from becoming who God created us to be. You cannot ask God to take you into a new season while holding on to the things He is asking you to leave behind. Sometimes the closed door is protection. Sometimes the delay is preparation. Sometimes the pain is not destroying you, is developing you. The heartbreak you experienced, the rejection you faced, the disappointment that changed you. Maybe it was not there to end your story. Maybe God was using it to redirect your path. Because sometimes God removes things from your hands, so He can place something greater in your future. But many people miss what God is doing because they are too focused on what they lost. They keep asking, "Why did this happen to me?" But maybe the better question is, "God, what are you trying to teach me through this?" Because every season has a purpose. Every struggle can build you. Every challenge can bring you closer to God. The enemy wants you to stay discouraged, because a discouraged believer stops moving. A fearful believer stops trying. A distracted believer stops listening. But today, God is reminding you, get back up, return to Him, start again. You do not need to have everything figured out. You just need to take the next step. One prayer, one moment of surrender, one decision to put God first again. Because small steps of faith can create a powerful transformation. Maybe you feel like you have gone too far. Maybe you feel ashamed of your past. Maybe you think God cannot use you anymore. But remember this, the same God who forgave David, the same God who restored Peter, the same God who transformed Paul, is the same God who is reaching for you today. His love is not based on your perfection. His grace is not limited by your mistakes. His plans for you are not canceled because you struggled. You are still here. You are still breathing. And that means God is still working. So today, stop listening to the voice that says you are finished. Start listening to the voice that says you are loved. Stop believing the lie that your past is stronger than God's grace. Start believing that God can make all things new. Your story is not over. Your purpose is not gone. God is not finished with you. If you believe God is calling you back today, write in the comments, "Lord, bring me closer to you." Choose God again. Trust Him again. And remember, no matter how far you have wandered, the door is still open, and God is still waiting for you.